Sanctions. I'm joined now by Congressman Joe Sestak of Pennsylvania, a retired three-star admiral. Let's bring him in and talk about this. Of course, his background is naval intelligence. That's on the table with us tonight. Congressman, from your military experience, no one's talked about this today. How difficult, if it comes to this, how difficult would it be for the United States to take out this facility?
It could be done, but it would be difficult. Not only that, the results of this would make Iraq seem like a walk in the park. Iran and those kinds of terrorist groups that are very supportive of the goals of what Iran wants in places like the Middle East or in even Pakistan would just begin a real harsh global war of terror. There's also a concern about Israel, and that would make even more difficult, because if they were to try to do it alone, it would mean probably flying along Syria-Turkish airspace, and then they'd have to pre-position refueling aircraft. So I think in their place it would be much more harsh. But if I could add, that's the value of this approach of the U.S. government under President Obama. It has put the military option on the back of the table, and it's actually then taken a step towards what's most important, building a strong international coalition that can apply diplomatic pressure on Iran as well as necessary, sanctions, because it took aboard what the National Intelligence Estimate of a year ago said by our CIA. It said that Iran approaches its foreign policy decisions in a cost-benefit way. It's not a rush to have a weapon. Rather, it takes into account the cost, economic, political, and diplomatic. And that's what this president is doing.
Yeah, I thought he handled it extremely well today. But Congressman, let's talk about the Israeli reaction here. This vindicates them. They've been saying all along these folks are cheating and building and not paying attention to anything else. And I remember a story in the New York Times back in January of 2005 when former Vice President Dick Cheney made the comment saying that, you know, the Israelis may take them out before anybody else. How do you think this news is being received by Israel, and what do you think their next move would be?
I think Israel will reemphasize its desire to deal with the Iranian situation before dealing with the Palestinian-Israeli issue, and I think we have to deal with both simultaneously.
Okay, this is former President Bill Clinton with David Gregory on Meet the Press. Let's watch this exchange.
Is this a moment where the president says to Iran, we got you, and now it's time to act, or you're going to face serious consequences?
Well, I think that's what they want to communicate with them. And I think the reason they want to have talks is if they have talks and they don't just hurl assaults in the press about it, they can more explicitly lay out things they may not be prepared to say in public yet about what the options are if Iran continues down this path. And they can also talk about where we might go together if they reverse course. So I always think it's a good idea, if possible, to look somebody in the eye and have a chance to have a conversation before there's a total breach. But I think this is actually healthy that this is broken. The Iranians must have known that the Americans knew. Somehow they must have found out that, or they wouldn't have voluntarily notified the IAEA about this.
Congressman Sestak, I think that's a very interesting comment by former President Clinton. He says, actually healthy that this is broken. And when I heard that, I thought about the Russians today. The Russians have been taken by surprise on this, and they've done a lot of dealings with the Iranians. And now we seem to be closer to the Russians than we've ever been in the last maybe 8 years. Your thoughts on this opportunity and a new relationship moving forward to deal with this?
Absolutely. Both Russia and China issued statements about the IAEA going back in for inspections, comprehensive inspections. So we can sit at the table now, as President Clinton said, said, in a coalition, one that is together. And we can talk about not just sticks, but also carrots. Look, Iran, understandably, worries about its security. But we also know that Iran can have influence from al-Qaeda to Iraq to Afghanistan and to the Middle East. There's a way to induce behavior, and there's a way to talk quietly with it, that there's a cost-benefit way to do this. But you can only do it if you're talking with your opponent, as we did with the Soviet Union or the People's Republic of China.
Well, I think the Russians play a big key in all of this.
Absolutely.
And I have to ask you, Joe, the United States, President Obama, making the decision about the missiles in the Czech region, do you think this plays into all of this?
It was the very instrumental piece. We took out of the Czech Republic and Poland a stick in the Russian bear's eyes, but we placed that capability at sea. Actually, it's a nearer-term capability for us. But by removing it, we then had the Russian president now stating we need sanctions probably. This is the right way to approach the world, under a strategy of engagement with U.S. leadership, not just U.S. military leadership.
Congressman, thanks for your time on a Friday evening. I appreciate it so much. Love to turn to you on issues like this. You certainly know what's going on. Congressman Joe Sestak.